first met Nancy Meyer at a Friday cafe. She found her way to our group, and she said, you know what, I think I'd like to present, and I think I have some things to share from my work. She's a national trainer who goes around the country working with teachers and families, and I had no idea what Crayola was doing in family engagement. And I think you're in for a really fun morning. So, Nancy, welcome.
Thank you. We're going to talk about this long topic. Creativity connection for student success using creativity to partner with families and promote 21st century skills. Everybody, all together, sing it. No. Basically, we're going to talk about why creativity is important for our kids and how we can help families understand that. All right? That's the basic premise of it. Now, my background is I'm a teacher. I'm a theater teacher. So what am I doing? Working for a visual art company. I have been training for theaters in education. I've always been in schools. I was never, I'm lying if I tell you I wasn't ever on the stage, but it wasn't my goal to become a professional performer. It was my goal to be a teacher, an educator, and share with others the power of the arts in education and everything else. So this is all about the power of creativity, not necessarily the arts, although that's what we're going to use as our vehicle. Let's talk a little bit about the stuff that's on your table, okay, just so you know. I'm going to start, may I show you? Everybody gets at least one of these. There should be enough on your tables. If not, talk to me. This is the vintage crayon that Crayola created in 1903. These were not created in 1903. They're just modeled after them. You can't buy these, all right? These are just for you. So if this is our oldest product, this is our newest product. Take notes. So just if you haven't opened it yet, the 12-year-old girl will come out, and all of us, when I tell you there's a gel pen. The teacher and all of us will come out, or the organizer will come out when I tell you there's a dry erase marker, and then the oh my gosh factor, this is going to change your life. This is an erasable highlighter. I know. So, here's a statement. Creativity isn't just important. Creativity is an essential 21st century skill. We're going to explore that statement today pretty deeply. First, we kind of have to define what is creativity. What is it? Now, around the room, I've placed little pieces of paper, and each of them has one of the statements that I'm going to put up here. While I'm going through these statements, I want you to think which one resonates with you. All right? Because my background is in theater, we're not sitting down the whole time. We're going to get up and move. So when we put all the statements up, I want you to go find the statement. There's one on the chair back there. There's one over there. There's one over there on the coffee table. One up front and one on the side there. And you're going to go to the statement that kind of draws you to it. All right? Make sense? First statement. Creativity means coming up with new ideas that work. That's over here. Second one. Creativity is thinking outside the box or divergent thinking. That's over there. Creativity is the act of making connections between seemingly unrelated ideas to make something new and appropriate. I love that word. That's right there. Creativity means finding new ways to solve problems and interact with the world. That is over near you, I believe. Right down the back there. Yep, back there. Creativity is the ability to see what's not there and create something new. That's up on one of the levels. Which one kind of resonates with you? Don't tell anybody at your table right now. Just stand up, tuck your chair in, and go. Vote with your feet.
Sorry. I'm trying to read and walk at the same time.
You want some gum too, and then carry your lunch? In the back. That's okay. what you're going to do right now in your group, these are people with whom you have found some common bond, even if it's just one word in that statement. I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 minutes, and I want you to talk about, with at least one person in your group, why this statement resonates with you and what's your experience with that. And when you hear me do this, that's the call to just bring it back down, okay? Go! Talk with at least one person. Would you please thank your conversation partners and come on back to your seats? Everybody has experience with the word creativity. Everybody has experience with creativity. But lots of times we think of creativity as, she really sings well, he really draws well, they really dance well. But look at that. Does it say any of that in any of those definitions? No. No, I went to the American Society of Engineering and Education conference many years ago, and I had all these engineers stand up, and this one guy says, engineering is the most creative career out there. And I'm sitting there going, as an artist, I would like to differ with you. But you know, he was really trying to get something going, and I'm like, you know what? Everybody's creative. I finally came up, I said, this is great. Yeah, you're creative. There's lots of creativity out there. So I'm going to talk about, look at this, by Stephen Mumma. Have you ever heard of Stephen Mumma? He wrote a book called Creative Boot Camp. And he says creativity is problem solving with relevance and novelty. Man, that's kind of powerful. What does relevance mean to you? Has a function. But what's novelty? Something new, unusual. Yeah, different. So, with that in mind, I'm also going to put up this, Judy sent me this report the other day, the Gallup report, Creativity and Learning, just came out. Right, just came out. This is their definition of creativity. It's pretty wordy. Just in case it's hard to read, I'll read for you. I don't believe that you necessarily need me to do that, but just for the people who need multiple modalities. The ability of finding new ways of solving problems, there's that word again. Approaching challenges, making connections, connection up here, or creating projects. Creativity is not based on a formula, but on thinking that relates to discovery and inquiry. How many of you in your discussions brought up that concept of inquiry? Did anyone? It's not something that pops up automatically with creativity. And yet, you know what? If we can teach our kids how to ask questions, we can walk away and just say, good, keep learning. That's what we want to do. So creativity is going to help them to devise questions. Inquiry is the basis of learning. We've got to have that. So here's when we're going to start to do some drawing. I like to put this up because it's important. How many of you have stickers on your car of stick figures, like where with a dog and a cheerleader and a baby and the dad, you know, and the mom? And anybody have those? I lived in Atlanta for 25 years, and I got to tell you, if you didn't have that on your car, then you were just unidentifiable as a Southerner. All right? I'm here to tell you that when I ask you to draw, stick figures are fine. That guy who designed those bumper stickers is making billions of dollars on stick figures. So I'm going to ask you to do some sketching. Why? Sketches spark conversation. They're a way of putting out what we think on paper in a way that everyone can understand, because art is a universal language. Remember this when you do this with your parents, especially if you have parents that don't speak English as a first language. Using art and using drawing is an absolutely fantastic way of drawing the group in. Would you agree with me, Carla? I mean, really, it's so if you have not, you know, if you're just talking at them, get them to talk and then write, draw, and talk to each other. Simple is great. Again, don't worry about stick figures. They're wonderful. Nobody here, by the way, I'm not paying you all for your art, so don't worry. And today, just go bonkers. You have all these cool supplies on your table, all right? Be like a kid who just goes, I'm going to tell you something. How many of you open the smelly markers and sniff them? I have to tell you, when I go do workshops, almost all the male teachers are there. Do you have any stinky ones, really stinky ones? And I'm like, sorry, it winds up being a gender thing that cracks me up. Here is your challenge right now. With all that conversation we had about creativity, take a piece of paper. You have pads of paper on your table. You have pads. Everybody take, you're going to need at least a couple of pieces today, so just take them. There should be pads of paper buried underneath stuff. You'll find them. Okay? Draw. Don't sit there and say, I can't draw. Everybody can draw. Yes. Here we go. Here we go. Your assignment. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Your assignment. You are going to draw a time that you felt creative. You did something creative. You were successful at doing something creative. And notice how I'm not telling you what that means. You've already defined it for yourself. So do a quick sketch of you doing something creative. It could be recently, it could be when you were 4. I'm not worried about the time frame. You ready? Go. You can talk while you draw or be quiet while you're drawing. At ease with whatever. And use anything on the table. All right. By the way, that's officially the kids' table over there, okay? That's it. All right. Whatever state your art piece is in, doesn't matter if it's finished, you always have, that one child that says, I'm not done, and 4 hours later, I'm not done. Yeah, we're done, okay. It's okay, because you can add to anything else later on. We're going to do what we call a walking gallery. A walking gallery is a little bit different than a gallery walk. A walking gallery is you're going to hold your artwork in front of you. Not in front of your face, that would be dangerous. You're going to hold it in front of you, and you're going to walk amid the chairs, amid the people. You can use all the space in the room. And I want you to, as you're walking, take a look at people's artwork, and when something catches your eye, just say, tell me about your picture. Tell me about your picture, or something of that inviting way. All right? You ready? Stand up and tuck your chair in.
The 1-year-old. And the other day we were just losing our minds inside. So we grabbed an empty egg carton and we took it outside, and we weren't allowed to come back inside until we had found, you couldn't pull things from people's yards. They had to be loose and pick up neighborhood. And so we came back inside once we had found 12 different special things that we could then talk to my husband about.
Oh, that's neat.
This is my most recent moment where I was like, I just came up with something pretty cool to keep us busy for an hour, and it cost no money. And she calmed down.
Tell me about your picture.
I was an ice skater.
Job, because they weren't looking for the creativity, they were looking for something whatever. And I was like, this is really cool.
I know what it is to fly.
This is a picture of me and my grandson making a garden in front of our house, and we had to try to figure out how to place all of our mums and our pumpkin. So we made a map inside the house, and then we went outside and we put it all together.
Let's popcorn what you saw. Where do people feel creative that you saw? Where do they feel? What? At home. Doing what?
Place their kids.
Ah, Playing with their kids. What else? What else did you see? At work. At work, doing what? New ways to display information. Okay. You saw people at work. What else? What other locations, what other activities did you see people doing? Outdoors. Say it again. Hobbies. Doing hobbies. Yeah. I think I saw someone with a cake. Yes, did someone make a cake?
Right here.
Yeah.
And she's not willing to share a piece.
Cake.
Cherry nut.
Tell us about your cake. What did you do?
My sister and I made her wedding cake.
Oh.
Very cool. Very good. Did anybody else yet?
Travel to new places.
Traveling to new places. Did you see? Isn't that interesting? That so many of us, though, when we say, oh, I'm not creative. Yeah, you are. Look at what you just did. Yeah, you are. And that's what we have to get back to, helping people remember that creativity is not just about that drawing and dancing. Although, yes, that is part of creativity. We're not going to ignore that. But there are so many different ways of being creative. And you just saw that in your gallery walk. So that whole first part, I'll be right there. That's the what. Creativity is the what. Now we're going to talk about the why. Why? So in that same Gallup poll, and this is really small. You can find this, by the way. It's called Creativity and Learning Gallup Report 2019. You can just Google it. But it says that parents favor learning experience that require students to creatively apply what they are learning. I don't know a single person of us that would disagree with this. If you do, great, I'll talk to you. Most parents, 59%, believe it is very important for students to work on projects with real-world applications. About half also believe it is very important that students are creative in addressing problems, including coming up with their own ideas about how to solve them and trying different ways to do so. There's our in. There's our creative in. All right? That's our why. Why are we doing this? So that creativity and learning, and you'll see this several times throughout because it's a really good report. We have to be aware of how the workplace is changing. Have you seen these statistics? These are really important ones. The fact that they're saying, that, and this was said in 2018, I believe, 2018, yeah, by Career Builder, 121 of today's occupations will experience a decline by 2023. Here we go, though. 65% of kids entering grade schools will work in jobs that don't yet exist. And 60% of occupations have 30% of their tasks that can be automated. So, and the rise of technology has reduced the need for memorization and learning. Right? As the parent of a child with intellectual disabilities, specifically short-term memory skills, I am forever grateful for technology. You know, when she was in, whatever, is it third grade, when you memorize your times tables? Oh, that wasn't happening. Yeah, and I'm just looking, I said, for real? She's got a calculator. That's not going to happen. Let's pick something else that we get her thinking going. So we have to really start thinking about this, because here are the skills that employers are looking for. This is what they're looking for. This came out of LinkedIn last year, and then I added to it with some of the creativity and learning that shows you what employers are looking for. But look at this, persuasion. Can they persuade? Think about it. In the Common Core standards, it's build an argument, persuade someone. Collaboration, oh my gosh. Collaboration, 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 and then we want you to collaborate. Adaptability, time management, critical thinking, creative problem solving, strategic thinking, leadership, communication, and this. Curiosity to learn independently. That's what employers want. Employers. Are we teaching this in school? Are we teaching this in our home? Are we facilitating it? Are we encouraging it? And that's the biggie. So creativity is still the #1 skill they're looking for. It's in there. Why? They need creative employees who can conceive the solutions of tomorrow. All right, so you ready? We're going to do a list. Take another piece of paper. Another piece of paper. Grab any kind of writing implement that you like. You can use the back if you want. You could use another piece out of there, but this was going to be something different. I'm going to time you. And in 1 minute, as soon as everybody has paper, you ready? Everybody have paper? Something to write with? Paper and something to write with. In 1 minute, I want you to write down as many careers or jobs as you can think of that require creativity. From all the things we discussed, from what you just drew, but any career that requires. Are you ready? Go. And just do as many as you can. It's not really a contest. We're just going to write for a minute, brainstorm. And 3, 2, 1, stop. Compare your list with somebody next to you. Just go. Just compare your list. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, interestingly enough, we're always concerned that our kids know how to use technology. Make sure you can use technology. Make sure you know how to use technology. I got news for you. A pencil is technology. Technology is anything that man creates, or woman, whatever, a person creates that makes a job easier. So, but when we start talking about technology, these days, we're really talking about what? Computers, things with screens, machines. So take a look at these statements that were put together by Forbes. Forbes was talking about why creativity is really important. The fact that technology brings out change. Boom, we know that. This is not new. We've got to harness our own creativity to stay ahead of it. Why? We've got to embrace the creativity and then use it to apply technology correctly. Computers are not creative. We are the ones that have to dream up the visions. We are the ones that have to do that. So while, yes, we want to make sure our kids get a good rounded education that does include how to use technology, we've got to make sure it's being used used creatively and used correctly. So there's a whole lot of workshops on that, talking about SAMR and all that stuff. But I just wanted to point out that I am not ignoring that it's important for us to know about technology. Right? We are not doing that. But I love this statement from this report again. Creativity supported by transformative technology use is most likely to help students achieve positive learning outcomes. So there's that balance. We have to encourage parents to say, yeah, they've got to have the balance. Yes, go ahead and put the puzzle pieces together on the screen. But look at the design of the puzzle pieces. Who designed that? You got to design it. All right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I love this. Look at that kid in the middle. Is she just gorgeous? Look at how happy. But I'm not afraid of change. Like, wow, that's great. Our kids know this, and they are embracing change. We're the ones that get stuck in, I didn't learn math that way. All right? So we have to really help them that this is the change that's happening, and creativity is the way in. So if we want our students to be creatively driven, so that they can become the problem solvers of the future and become the thought leaders. Isn't that what we want for our kids? They don't have to become president. They don't have to become generals. They don't have to, but we want them to be able to think independently and create something new or create something in their own world. So that's really what we're talking about. So creativity builds skills. Just shout them out. If you're being creative, what are the skills you're working on? What are they? Problem solving.
Critical thinking.
Critical thinking. What does that mean? Really, truly, because we throw around critical thinking, right? But what does it really mean?
To really think out of the box.
And keep going. What does that mean? And anybody can help her at any point. I don't mean to just
help me.
So what does that mean? What is it?
Critical thinking is challenging your own assumptions.
Challenging your own assumptions.
And
making sure you understand. Looking at it lots of angles.
Looking at something in a way different than maybe you had been or was suggested to.
What else? Anybody?
Taking risks.
Taking risks. Taking perspectives.
Perseverance.
Perseverance.
Resourceful.
What does that mean?
That means like you got to look into everything. Like look into all your resources that are available to you. Or conversely, try and figure out how to solve a problem with the limited resources that are available to you. So instead of looking at it.
That's very creative. How many people have seen Apollo 13? Remember that movie that came out? Where they dump on the table and they say, okay, this is what they have up there, figure out how to get them home. You know? I mean, that's MacGyver. I've got a MacGyver game that I'd love. I'm sorry, say MacGyver, the original. Oh my gosh, that mullet, man. Oh, Richard Dean Anderson. I even know the name. So look at all those.
It says staying in tune.
Staying in tune. Talk about that.
Because sometimes we go all over the place, but we have to stay in tune to what we're thinking. We have to stay in place, you know, because our minds get busy.
Yes, yes. And helping our children be able to focus. I always say that creativity happens in a framework.
Right.
And I performed professional improv comedy for 25 years. And what you do is you have these structures that are given to you, and they are narrow structures. And when you're working within that structure, that's when you have to become creative. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's that framework. My friend compared it, she was a kindergarten teacher, and she said, kindergartners are like goats. There's a reason we call baby goats kids. They're very happy when they have their structures, when they know their parameters of their fence. That's when they get comfortable and then they start taking all the different stuff that's available within that structure, and they'll build their nice little comfy place where they're going to sleep, they're going to find their special place to eat, but it helps focus them. As soon as the fences are broken down, goats don't give milk, they don't get pregnant, at least the females. You know, just things don't happen. And with our kids, as soon as we take those fences down, you know, and I'm not saying, you know, box them in this small, but, you know, we've got to give them some structures so that they can be creative and flower and grow and do that. So, yeah, that's nice, staying in tune. I like that. So, it also changes us from convergent thinkers to divergent thinkers. So what's a convergent thinker? Anybody know? Convergent thinker is people who know how to solve problems with one answer. We're all going to come up with the same answer. All of us are going to get the answer this way. But a divergent thinker then is multiple solutions to open-ended problems. I was an arts integration specialist for a DC public charter for years. And I had this one mother who came and said, these new math standards, Common Core math, And I'm like, why? Why don't you like it? She goes, this is how you do the math problem. And I said, oh, so you don't like that kids are able to say, this is how I solved it. Even though they came up with the same answer, you want them to all know the same way. And she looked at me and she goes, no. I said, well, that's what Common Core is about. It's about saying, how did you get this? We're going to show you some ways, but how do you get this? And be able to justify your answer. She goes, I said, you don't like it because your kid's not doing it your way, right? And she goes, okay. So that open-ended problems, those open-ended problems, that's where we get in with parents and saying, okay, because then parents say, well, how do I give them an open-ended problem? That's what we got to give them. We got to give them some ideas. We got to help them understand it so they're creating some of their own open-ended problems or recognizing where they are already. So we're going to play with, how do we promote creativity? Somebody already said it. Who said observation or taking other perspectives? Excellent. Someone else did over here too. I remember saying that observation is a great way to help them learn about creativity because it gets them to take things from other people's point of view. So, you ready to move again? So glad. Good. We're not going to have anything in our hands. I'm going to give you a couple of instructions before we get going, all right? The first thing you're going to do, obviously, is you're going to stand up and tuck your chairs in. Don't do it yet. You're going to find a partner. But I'd prefer it be someone you have not yet either had a conversation with or worked with. And I also actually prefer it if it's someone sort of your height. It'll be clear It'll be clear why I'm asking that. My daughter, I have a daughter who's a little person, and she's always like, yeah, thanks, great. You know, but it'll be clear when we get to the activity. So if you would find someone about your height that you have not worked with, and I want you to stand and face your partner. And when you have that partner, just both of you put your hands up and touch somehow so that I know that everybody is partnered. And when I see your partner, then I'll give you the instructions for the activity. Ready? Go. This is an exercise you can do with your families. This is an exercise you do with your kids. I've done this with 4-year-olds on up to, my oldest student was 98 and born in a covered wagon, okay? So you can do this with anyone. All right, what you're going to do is stand and face your partner. So that's the first step. And you are going to silently observe everything about your partner. What are they wearing? How's their hair today? Are they wearing hat, jewelry? How are they wearing jewelry? What are their shoes? Observe everything, but silently. And I'm going to give you that time to do it for 1 whole minute, which is a long time. Ready? What? Ready? No talking, or to the best of your ability, no talking. I know. And just observe everything. Go. Keep observing. You're only at 15 seconds. When I say go, you will turn around and face your partner and see if you can identify the 3 things your partner has changed. Go. That's one little exercise for observation. It's a fun game. It just gets them thinking. You know, we have to start noticing things. And if we help kids to really use their eyes and notice, it's a great little exercise. There's so many wonderful books for kids that talk about looking at things from a different perspective. You know, the story of the ant, and you know, where the kid's gonna, you know, oh no, you know, don't step on me, but it's told from the point of view of the ant, don't step on me type of thing. But all those different stories about perspective, if we get kids first to just observe what they see and tell us what they see, bam, without interpretation, it's just observation without putting their own spin on it. Just observe. It's so helpful to have that without passing judgment, without making any kind of decision about, you know, why did you do that? Nope, just observe. Heck, what? Why? That was my next question.
That was the longest minute ever, right?
Yeah, you just said 30 seconds.
Right.
Isn't it? It does. Because you're really trying to do it. But it's like when we take kids to museums, we've noted that most kids go, okay, yeah. And then you watch adults. Okay, yeah. We tend to look at artwork for like 10 to 15 seconds. You know, that timing 1 minute to look at something is a big deal. You could do it with artwork, you could do it, but we just had humans. It was more fun to do it with humans. But I appreciate your saying that it is uncomfortable. Looking for a minute is uncomfortable. Yes?
So I have a teenager who questions everything.
I'm sorry. No, that's good.
I appreciate that.
That's great.
But I feel like adults and teachers are a little uncomfortable with kids who question everything. And how do you balance the because I said so, right?
Because we know that's, well, that's a safety thing.
With, you know, how much of questioning is disrespect and making sure he's lucky that he's been paired up with people who allow him to question. Some teachers do, but some teachers are not comfortable with a kid who's like, why do I have to do that?
That's more of a challenging authority. Why do I have to do that? That depends on how the question is asked. So teaching kids how to ask questions is also a big skill.
Yeah.
I have another whole workshop on just doing that. But yeah, teaching how to ask questions is a major skill. It's a major skill. But I mean, really, the why and the how questions are great places to start. You know, how do you know that? Instead of, how do you know? No, well, how do you know that?
So it's tone.
It's tone. A lot of it's tone, teaching tone. How do you know that? So I just encourage you, that's a game that you can play with your parents at workshops. If you only want to give them 30 seconds, give them 30 seconds. That's okay. But it's fun. The other one is, how do we give them opportunities for innovation and invention? What's the difference between innovation and invention? Does anybody know? And it's okay if you don't. It's okay if you don't. But it's a good thing. It's just something new that's, what is it?
So innovation is upgrading something that's already done, a better way or a new way, and invention is something, a new idea. To solve a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So just innovation is upgrading, and invention is brand spanking new. All right? So most of us can be innovators. Okay? We're not all inventors, but sometimes. We know those moments we are. So encouraging innovation is great. So we're going to do an innovation exercise, all right? So here it is, innovation time. Guys, do you know that there's so many environmental challenges right now? I mean, we had one this morning, right? For some of us that were, stuck in New Haven, the wind was really blowing. I know my friends in California are very concerned about fires. I know my friends in Alaska are very concerned about climate change. I know this. I know that since I lived in Georgia, I was hit by a tornado twice. Moved back here, and man, we've had some pretty big deluges here in Connecticut, haven't we? When I lived in Maryland, we were hit by a derecha our first week that we lived there, and blew out electricity for a full week and knocked trees down. So we've got some environmental changes happening. I want you to think about all the animals and how they're having to adapt to some of these things. What are some animals? First of all, what are some animals that our kids are aware of?
A deer.
A deer. What else? Bears. Dogs. Squirrels. Skunks. Fish. Bats. Birds. Snakes. All those. So what you're going to do now is think of an environmental issue and how it might be affecting an animal. And I want you to create a super species of this animal. Now, it might be an animal that just adapts. Might be an animal you already know that adapts. It might be a brand new animal. Example. What if we created an octopus whose tentacles were so cold-blooded that it could refreeze icebergs? Okay, there's one. What if you created a squid dog? Okay, something that could breathe above water for some time and yet could really kind of whoosh itself through the waters to get places, because we're getting a lot of water around here. I'm going to show you some examples. Super species examples. This is a divining dog, this little guy. Top of his head are divining rods. You remember what that is? To find water. There used to be diviners that would find water. His nose is no longer a snout, it's a beak, so he can crack through dry stuff to find water. If it floods, his ears are paddles, so they can paddle. This is a mushroom bird dealing with too much water and too much sun, extremes. Now has fins for feet and grows a mushroom on its back to shield from, and it's nice when there's a lot of rain, because mushrooms grow in the rain and they get bigger, and then it shields them from the sun when it's out there. So just a super species that's going to deal with it. All right? You can talk with people at your table. You can do this on your own. I like to do this kind of thing in pairs. But you have two things. If you'd like to sketch it, go ahead and sketch it first. All right? Then I want you to use model magic. Love model magic and create it. All right? Now, there should be enough model magic. There's several different colors. Things you should know about model magic. You can use magic markers and color it if you need to change the color. Ha ha ha! It's really totally cool. But you can use markers and blend it in, or you can mush them together to make a new color. But go. You've got about 10 minutes to do this, all right? Go. Innovate something new or invent something new. Go. A new super species.
You know, she's in 3rd grade and they did a little campaign in her school to get rid of straws in the cafeteria. So that's the first.
I didn't just take the color, I just started coloring.
Because it would just be, I'd be afraid.
If you need to tell anybody that, you know, you could even write on the side. You
crossed with a fish and a camel, perhaps. So as the waters are rising, it adapts to swimming, so it can still be a pet.
So I don't know much about ocean science, but it would take the changing chemistry of the water and adapt to it so that it can still thrive and then emit something positive.
So it won't all bleach out and you've still got color too.
Right. So it would start its one color and then it can morph as things kind of come through and change to a different color.
Very cool.
Allergy related is a wonderful idea that's going to solve.
Cynthia, what is your idea that you're solving?
It's ocean trash, so the sea turtle has hands and it's going to pick it up and then it can fly to dispose of it on.
Our hippo's going to be able to carry a ton of water and be able to fight the California fires.
I am digging that.
He's got red legs because they're fireproof.
Yeah, fireproof.
Yeah.
All the Russian and all the
Yes.
We have a dog sweeper. And he sweeps up all the dog fur that's all over the ground and then produces a scarf.
Is that not the best ever?
That's
the kids' table. So.
Is that not perfect or what?
His tail's drooping. I would like to invite anyone who would like to stand up and show their quick little character as their new super species and what it does. Is there anyone who would like to share? Oh, right over there. There they go. That's the children's table.
Can I show the sketch first?
Sure. I'm sorry. Am I in your way?
Our dog sweeper. The problem was that I'm dog sitting this week, and there's a lot of dog fur everywhere. So what we created is our little dog sweeper. So he sucks in the fur, and he poops out a scarf.
Is that cool?
A scarf.
Just like with the hair.
We're gonna give it to you for Christmas.
All right, who else has got one? Jen has one.
So I drew it. I decided to create adaptive coral. I don't know much about the water science of the ocean, but I figured it would be coral that thrives in a chemically changing environment and then emits something good. I don't know, whatever the ocean needs. So it would start out with stuff kind of coming through and then it can adapt and change and be happy and live and not die and be bleached out. Adaptive coral.
Yay! All right, who else has got one? Who else has got one? Yes, go for it.
Okay. I made it's a dog, all right, but the dog is, has flashlight for eyes, rope for hair, web feet, and its body inflates to help in disasters, like, and it's a friendly face, you know, for children to be comfortable with them. So it helps rescue other families.
Isn't that heartwarming? Sapphire dog. She's just like the picture, though.
All right, here we go. Up here.
So we don't have a new creature. We have.
You've an innovative creature.
Yes. So we have chipmunk, but it's called the hyper chipmunk. So in the winter, because it gets really cold here now, and in the summer it gets really hot. And we were also imagining, if you're kids of the 80s, those shirts that change color in awkward places. Right? You guys know
the ability to store all the heat and like change colors so that it's like the heat-seeking color too and absorbs it. And you know, still is the small size that he can crawl back into the little dens and like stay warm. And in the summer though, because it's so hot here, he or she has the ability to change his fur color according to the season and is white so that it's not as like heat seeking, and is smaller so that you're not like, you know, internally hot too. So that's our hypoker chipmunk.
Collective, a collective creature.
We have two creatures. One is a snake that when enters into an environment where the temperature is extreme, such as a wildfire, they can emit that powder that prevents fire from spreading, and it also breaks apart. So as it gets warmer, it turns into more and more creatures so that it can contain. And the other one is a flying whale that can scoop down into the ocean, pick up water, drop it over the wildfire, and our spout will also shoot out water. It's just having trouble staying up.
Form and function. One more. I think our hippo group wanted to go. You guys?
Oh yeah, we want to go. Yes. So we have. How are we going to hold that up? We actually combined another person's because it was on the same vein as ours. So we have a hippo and a bear who are fireproof, and the hippo can drink a whole lot of water and then go to the firefighters or to the fires and just help put them out. And the bear has
paws that
water comes out
of.
We can team up
And our hippo,
I know.
his feet are fireproof, so he can go right into the thick of it.
Wow.
Would you please give applause to everyone? Don't you think kids would just dig that big time? Yeah. So there are ways to introduce these challenges to parents so that they can do that. So here are some tips. You know, encourage them to use art at home. Whatever art products they have. Let the children direct the art products. I mean, I have a friend who was an art major, and she used to always come into her kid and said, "That's not how to draw that." And I would just grab her by the head and go, "It's your child's art, not yours. You know, leave it alone." Let them direct it. Keep looking at things for details. Observe again, and then say, "How would a mouse see that? What would that look like to a mouse? What would that look like to a fish?" Fuzzy, because they're seeing through water. Pose what-if questions. This super species is a what-if question. What if they could deal with it? Let them design the solutions. Those are ways of helping them be creative. Take notice of colleges that are offering different things. One of my assistants down at Easton put this in, and I'm like, I don't expect everybody to go to Stanford, Harvard, Oklahoma State, or Ball State, but take a look at those. Those are standout programs that really are about creative inquiry and innovation. So they have them, you know, but the centers that teach creative problem solving in schools, as they're looking at that, think along those lines. That's from a Forbes report in 2017. Just keep remembering that 65% of students will work in jobs that don't exist yet, so we've got to get them to be creative, solve those problems. And look at this list. This is a list that kids put together. Maybe not with the exact title, but this is their list of creative careers. Look at that. Take a look at some of it. You go, well, yeah, I see that. But I mean, teacher, one of the most creative careers out there. Think of that. An athlete or a coach. How is that creative? How are you going to do that in a new way? So, you know, it's just shifting from nice to have to a must-have. Think of those in terms of the list that you came up with. Look at the list that you came up with. What do you have that's the same? What do you have that's different? Think of those lists. So here's your takeaway. Let children take the lead. Create and innovate together. Let them fail and try again. I love that. Anybody wear Spanx besides me? Sarah Blakely tells this wonderful story about every morning her father said, "I wish you failure so then you get a chance to do it again." He made it this positive thing for her. He says, isn't that exciting? You get to try it again. And if you read Rosie Revere, Engineer to Young Children, that's her whole thing. She says, I'm going to do this. Oh, it didn't work. She doesn't get upset. It didn't work. Oh, I got to try a new way. That's what we want. We want them to be curious about learning. Observe from different perspectives. Ask what if, those questions. This is a site you can use. Crayola.com is absolutely free. And if you go on Crayola.com, you'll see resources. We have this 52 creative weeks, different projects that you can do each week. It's free. You can print it off. You can give it out at parent meetings. You can use it yourself. There are creative parenting tips. There are tips for raising creative kids. There are all kinds of parent resources on Crayola.com that are free. Again, can I say that? They are free. And I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. If you have questions, comments, recipes, whatever it is you want to tell me, I'll be up here. I live in Connecticut. I am the Crayola, here's my official title, it's on here. Innovative Teaching and Learning Manager. That's my official title. It's really long. Just call me Nancy. But I'm happy to talk to you, talk about schools and projects in your schools and what you're doing. And once again, I said, everything on the table is going home with you. So do a little negotiating with the people at your table and say, what would you like to take? What may I take?